to introduce Sarah O'Connell with the Watertown Small Business Development Center, one of our biggest partners. Every time we have a entrepreneur, even some small businesses, we direct them to the SBDC. They have a lot of great services for businesses in our area. So without further ado, Sarah O'Connell.
Thank you. I'm laughing because I told Bo, watch for the sunglasses, and the picture that they picked out has me with my sunglasses on because I always wear sunglasses. It was so dark leaving Watertown this morning with a storm that I didn't wear my sunglasses all the way here, which is never happens, but it was thunder, lightning, rain. It was, anybody else come from that direction? It's crazy, wasn't it?
Escape.
Yeah. But I'm not going to make it. So if you're not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we are a program of the U.S. Small Business Administration, so there are centers across the country. So a military family, you can find us anywhere. You just look up SBDC Washington State or SBDC Texas or whatever, and we have centers. We have actually 22 or 23 centers just in New York State. We're confidential. Our counseling services are free. We do give training courses that we charge for because we have to advertise and produce paperwork and buy textbooks and stuff like that. But other than that, we're free. We are technical specialists, not deep into, we don't know everything about every kind of business, but we can kind of talk in general about things and then maybe get you deeper help if you need something. We have 3 advisors in our office, and we have somebody else at SUNY Oswego. We cover Jefferson, Lewis, and Oswego counties, our particular center. So I've been there 19 years. Love what I do. Went to Clarkson. My special love is actually marketing, but we counsel on all sorts of topics. But I really like marketing, and I totally agree with what you said about businesses in the North Country needing to get online. If I could go through the computer screen and strangle some of my clients, I would do that, because even if they are online, lots of times you're not doing it right. So it's a really interesting thing when somebody comes to us and wants to look into buying a particular business, because it's got some advantages and some disadvantages. So, but there's some basic questions again that you want to ask, that you want to have the answers to when you're looking to buy a business. And one of the first things that we say, why is this person selling? Why do they want to sell? Are they retiring? Are they tired? Maybe the business isn't doing well and they want to get out while they can get some money out of it. So that's kind of one of the first questions that you want to try to figure out and see if they'll give you an actual answer or not. But that's important to know, because that's one of the things that the lender's going to want to know too. And so we're going to try to get to some of those answers during the process. So, you also ask, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to pick this particular kind of a business? I have clients that come in that say, I want to buy this business, and I go, you do realize that you're going to be having to do cold calling, or you're going to be having to do this, or you're going to be having to do that. Are you comfortable with that? Somebody says, oh, I really think people need to buy this product. I go, but you do realize you're going to have to find the gatekeeper, find the person who's making the buying decisions. If you don't know how to go about doing that, you're going to have a problem. So, somebody say something? No. So you're going to start the conversation with the seller, and they're going to give you a price. And you need to figure out, how did they arrive at that price? And as somebody said, obviously, lots of times when somebody has owned a business for many years, they have a lot of emotional investment in it, or sometimes this is their retirement plan. So they want to get as much money out of it as they can. If they're smart, they've also been putting money into a retirement plan of their own, rather than just waiting to see what they can get out of the business. I had 3 or 4 clients trying to buy a particular business at one point. And the seller was very proud of himself that he had been able to push a lot of personal expense into the business so that he didn't have to, and he was also cash under the table. So he wasn't having to pay taxes, very many taxes for all these years. Well, if you're not paying tax, this is what I call shooting yourself in both feet. If you're not paying taxes, you're not paying into Social Security and Medicare. That's the one thing. The other thing is that your business on paper does not look good to the lender. So you won't be able to you might say, I can make this much money, but it's not showing up that way. So you can't sell the business for what you really might actually be worth. So it's shooting yourself in both feet. So when you look at the selling price, you need to break that out. And I think, the bankers will back me up on this information, but you really want to back it up. Is it land? Is it building? What kind of equipment is in there? You can make a list of anything, major pieces of equipment. And, you can look at what the replacement value is, but you're going to look at the actual value of the equipment. If it's a piece of equipment that's 15 years old, it's not going to appraise for the same as a brand new piece of equipment. Furniture and fixtures, what kind of inventory comes with the purchase? Or are you going to have to go in and buy inventory? So those are all the physical parts of what's going into that price. And that's, usually what you're looking at one sense. But there might be other things. There may be existing contracts that are signed for the next 3 years. That's got a value to it. Customer lists, that can have a value. Something called goodwill. It's an established name. Now, this is a place where a lot of business sellers pack a lot of money in there because they say, well, I built this business up. Everybody loves us. It can have some value. It can, but probably not as much as the seller would like it to, honestly, when you do an actual business valuation. A couple of other things, because I did talk to somebody recently, too, that was trying to sell their business. It's a sole proprietor. They have the skill that goes with that business. You coming in, do you have that skill? Do you have the connections in the community that person has? Or are you going to have to kind of learn as you go and rebuild that? So those have value to the seller, but for you, it may provide or offer a little bit of a problem. So the other thing you want to very closely check is that business coming with any debt that you're going to take on too? Does it have liabilities? Does it have loans out on pieces of equipment that you're going to have to take over? When you purchase a business and the person sells a business, you have to give something to especially if there's sales tax attached, you have to give a statement to the sales tax department. You want to make sure that sales tax or whatever is up to date. So when you take on this business, you don't all of a sudden find out that this person has any kind of back taxes, whether it's property taxes, payroll taxes, or sales tax. That can be a big, bad surprise when you're trying to buy a business and that doesn't get divulged somehow. So you've got all the physical stuff, and you know about the contracts and everything, and you think, well, there's the purchase price. That's how much money I need to get this business. Well, there's other things too that you have to look at. That's not going to be, you might say, oh, I can handle that debt. I can handle that loan. You're going to have working capital that you're going to walk into. Whatever money that business owner, seller has in the bank, when they go out the door, they're taking that cash with them. So you may have to go get an insurance company who's going to say, okay, that insurance was paid up to this point. You need to give me some insurance. Workers' compensation. Advertising. Are you going to change the name of the business, or are you going to buy the business? You're going to have legal costs because you want to transfer the business ownership, and handshakes aren't really a good idea. You want to really have some sort of a contract. You want to understand what's going on with that transition. Make sure it's done right. Are you going to need to buy some new equipment? Are you going to need to replace some stuff? Are you going to want to invest some money in renovations? Maybe you're buying this business, but you think, I need to repaint the whole building, or I need to do this, or I really need a new computer system. So you want to start making lists of what you need to invest into the business beyond just buying the business. Do you need to expand the inventory? So that's another thing. And then the other thing, like I said, when the business seller goes, they're taking what cash reserves are in the business. So you're buying this business, you're immediately going to have expenses. We call those reserves for payroll, for utilities, for paying your suppliers. So we usually say, look at 3 months worth of operating expenses that you want to know that you've got. And this is all going to become part of the loan or the investment that you're going to have to make. Really important. When you see some business change hands or start up and it closes again really quickly, usually it's because they ran out of cash. And that's really sad because it can be a great business idea, but if you can't, I know there was a restaurant operation in Watertown. And all of a sudden you're walking in and you're trying to order something. And they go, well, we're all out of hamburgers. You can't be out of hamburgers, you know. So, which reminds me also, another part of that is market timing. So if you're going to buy like a campground, you don't want to have your loan start having to be paid in September when you probably made all the camper reservations from maybe March through July. All of a sudden here you've got loan payments and insurance payments throughout the winter, and you don't have any income. So market timing is really important. This particular business I was talking about was opening a restaurant in Watertown in May. Nobody should open a restaurant in Watertown in May because everybody goes to the lake, to the river, to the mountains, or they grill outside. So it's just a really bad time to open a restaurant in Watertown in May. And I always tell people that. So now we're looking at how much you need to buy this business. You need to know as the buyer that when you go to the lender, and I'm sure they'll talk about that, they're not going to finance 100% of everything. They're going to have if you're buying a building, they're going to appraise it. It's not going to appraise it whatever 100%. Usually the appraisals come in lower than you would expect. You're going to be expected to be able to kick in a portion of what your project cost is. In general, it's 20%. Might be less if you get economic development involved. Might be more if it's a restaurant, because restaurants are considered risky. So you want to be understanding your financial situation. What's your personal liabilities that you're carrying? What are your assets and what are your liabilities? What's your net worth? Because if you have a ton of personal debt, this debt is going to play into that. And if it's above a certain level, the lender's not going to be happy about it. I had a client who bought a business and it was due to close he was starting a business and was due to close in about 3 or 4 weeks. Well, the bank wants to be sure that you have that money yourself. And he went and bought it like a $35,000 truck, financed it. And they went, whoa. You know, that's not a good, that's tweaking you over the edge of that line that we're looking at. So he had to go pay off some other stuff so he could bring that down to an acceptable level. So, and everything else that besides what you're putting in, the part the bank's financing has to be backed by collateral. And the collateral is all those physical assets, the land, the building, the equipment you're buying. None of that's yours till the loan's paid off. And so you may have to give a personal guarantee. And so understanding that somebody goes, well, I want to buy that business, but I'm not putting my house up. Well, you might have to. So that goes back to the family discussion that you have to make sure that everybody's on board. But somebody will say, well, my wife said I absolutely can't, make the house part of this deal. Well, then sometimes you gotta walk away or find another investor or something like that. So it's a big decision to make. Or a husband.
You heard that. I did.
Or a husband. Yep. But it's got to be a family decision for sure. Yeah. So when you go to an existing business and wants to sell, again, 3 to 5 years of the business tax returns. The need, if you're going to a bank, that's what the bank's going to base their decision on. Not what's going on over here, not what's going on under there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The bank knows that people do that. That's why they are obligated to go by the tax returns. I have had clients come to me that said, I told the seller that I was going to come talk to you, and they said, oh, don't go talk to the SBDC. Because they knew that we were going to say, you have to show those tax returns. And if the tax returns look bad, we're going to say there's a problem with you buying this business. We keep it confidential, but I have said to people, If they're not willing to share the tax returns with you, that's a red flag right there. Now, I've had businesses that were trying to sell, and you don't want to let necessarily every person walk through the door see your tax returns. We understand that. So sometimes they'll give them directly to us to look at. We won't even show them to the person who wants to buy it. We'll just give them kind of a sense and analysis, because we're bound by confidentiality, just like anything. So I've had one person who charged the person that was interested in purchasing $100. It was like a deposit to let them release the tax returns, just because they figured that would get all the tire kickers they just weren't willing to pay that. So, but they need, again, to show that, and we usually do kind of a historical profit and loss for that time period, so we can compare, because it can be really interesting. One of the advantages of buying an existing business is that you do have a record of what their business-related expense, what their sales have been, what the cost of goods are cost, and what their expenses have been. And so you can get a lot of information from that process, because for one thing, you can see, there's all these ratios and stuff. Are they close to what the industry standards will be? For example, in a restaurant, about a third of the sales actually goes into the food costs. About a third of the sales figure goes into payroll. So you can see if somebody's been mismanaging their business really quickly. Their food costs are 42, 45%. You're going, no wonder you're not making any money. You're giving away too much food, or employees are walking out the back door with it or something. You can get a lot of clues from that kind of information. So, and then the other thing we have to do is look at those expenses. What's going to change if you buy that business? Are they running personal things through the business that probably they shouldn't be and that you won't be? I mean, maybe they could be. Maybe they are living on the property and you're not going to. You have to look at all those things. I talked to clients recently, and yes, there's two employees involved with this business. The couple that's buying it, they're going to work it. They're immediately, the employees are gone. That's being replaced by, as a business owner, unless you're a corporation, you're not an employee, just so you know. You're going to be taking the money that's left over after the business expenses and putting aside about 25-30% for business taxes, which is your payroll taxes, because nobody's taking them out for you. That's always a big shock for a business owner. So what's left over is your salary after taxes. So you want to keep that in mind. So these people would say, well, here's the payroll. That's going to be gone. Is it going to leave you enough to live on? So again, we do that analysis. We try to work it through with you. Because at the end of the day, we say, does this look like it's something that's going to be feasible for you? So, what changes are you going to make in those expenses? Are there other changes too? Maybe you're going to do the plowing and the lawn mowing, so the maintenance cost goes away. Things like that. So, and then at the end of the day, we plug in the loan that you would have to do to take out to get that business. And interest on a business loan is tax deductible. The principal part comes out of your profit at the end of the day. So again, that factors into, here's the bottom line. Can you live on that? Can you live on that? If you can't, based on what the sales have been coming in or averaging at, you're going to have to increase the sales or decrease the expenses or decrease what you expect to make out of that business. And it's really, so who was it talking about math? I never thought I'd use like algebra. I use it all the time. I'm solving for X, or whatever, and making sure that all these numbers are working for you. And I consider it a success. When somebody goes, yes, I can do that, I consider it a success. When somebody goes, this is not a good fit for me, I'm not comfortable with this, but at least now I know why. People come in and they have a business idea, and I just always wanted to see if this could work for me. And if they can come to that decision and feel really good about it and go ahead, that's good. And if they don't feel comfortable taking that risk, that can be a good thing too. If you think you can increase the sales because the seller's been tired, they've been cutting their hours, they haven't been renewing their inventory often enough, the place looks shabby, and you think, I'm going to come in there, I'm sure I can increase it by a certain amount. We figure out how high that would, if you're going to double the business, that's probably pretty overconfident. But if it only needs to come up a little bit and you think you can achieve that, that's part of what will go into your business plan for the lender. Is you're going to say, yes, their history doesn't look as great as it can be, but I have these solid ideas and I have contacts with these people and they've written me letters that they're going to start purchasing for me. You can build a case even when the initial look may not look as good as you could hope. If the business is like tanking though, it's going to be a hard sell. It's going to be a hard sell, and it should be a hard sell for you unless you really think you can turn it around. So that's the process that we go through when you have a business idea. And again, we don't mind if you just have a vague idea of, I'm looking at this business, what do you think? I can't tell you necessarily that it's a good idea. I can't tell you that, I don't know what you know. So you need to know what, sometimes somebody comes in and they think, well, I don't know about that. And then they tell me all the contacts they have and the contacts they've already made. And I think, you might be able to make a go of this. So, let's work on that. So that's what we do. And that's what we do. Okay. So, anybody have any questions? We're very like this. I don't like to pop people's dream bubbles. I like to make them real. But yeah, so I take the dream bubble and I try to make it real. And then see where we go from there. Yeah.
I have a question. Is it realistic then, if you're looking at an existing business and the individual's probably looking at the selling of the business for their retirement? It's run down, the business.
Mm-hmm.
It needs a lot of work.
Right.
Is it realistic to put a figure for line of credit or loan or whatever to immediately remodel when you're already taking out a loan, obviously, for
right.
the business?
I think the lenders can speak to this. If that's something that's going to be needed to make that income stable, then yeah, do it then. Again, going through this process will give you a little more confidence that I think I can make this business work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if it's going to detract from the success of the business because you need to get a line of credit to refresh the inventory, yeah, you can only sell what you got. And if your inventory is very small and you put it out and people walk in and they've seen everything and they leave because there's nothing they want, if you don't have new stuff next time they come in, they're not going to come back. Sometimes some sellers want the money all right there. Sometimes they will owner finance some of the sale. You want to be careful with that because you still don't want to get sucked into paying too high a price. So you want to keep an eye on that. But sometimes they're willing to do that, which means you can borrow less from the bank. Yeah, it's always fun. It's a risk. So that's kind of the first question you ask yourself is, am I willing to take this risk? But the more you research it and the more you base it in reality, the easier that decision is going to be. But if it's clearly plunking, you probably don't want to do that. Yeah. Sometimes it's cheaper to start your own business, the same kind of business fresh without taking on all their issues and problems too. Anything else? I don't know what time it is. I just talked.
You were timed perfect.
Oh, cool. So again, we're everywhere. We love to talk to people. Doesn't cost anything, and we're confidential. So just come chat with me.
Do you have a contact number?
Huh?
Do you have a contact number?
I do. I have cards. Who asked for the contact? Okay. Yep. I do come to look at you.